What was the most holes you played of golf in one day?
72.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
Yes. So we played 18 holes in one round. We played 4 different rounds. Al and I did this, of course. 4 different rounds, 4 different courses on the same day. Teed off about 7:35. We played the first round in about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and we played the next round in about 3 hours, then the next one in 2 hours, and then about 3 hours. Nice 14-hour day, 72 holes.
And then you died.
None of your business, Ushy.
None of your business, Michael.
It's the None of Your Business podcast, hosted by Michael and Ushy.
Welcome back to another episode of a None of Your Business podcast. Now, you might notice that this podcast is missing an essential piece. I kind of feel a little bit naked here without him, without my side piece, Michael Greenfield. So Michael is currently in Israel. So he's going to be there for about 3 weeks. And the show must go on. Just because Michael leaves doesn't mean that everything stops. So Michael and I actually turned this into an opportunity. And what we said was that I'm going to do a podcast on my own. I'm going to choose a couple of my friends. I have some interesting friends, but I chose the 2 of you because I believe that there's a lot of synergy between the 3 of us. And I think that could make for some really, really good conversation. So I'm excited about it. Now, not to put any pressure on you guys, but this is a competition. And this podcast must, by all costs, outperform Michael's podcasts. Because like all good partnerships, potentially partnerships one day can end. And we have to know, we have to really, really know, is Michael Greenfield going to outperform or am I going to outperform? And we're going to hold this over each other's heads for a long time. We're very competitive. I know you guys are very competitive. We're all very competitive, all in good fun. Yes, we're going to touch on that a little bit today. But I'm not going to lie. Not having you here, Michael, certainly doesn't feel the same. Feels a little bit empty, but I think we're going to survive. So, Michael, good luck. Do your thing. I wish you a lot of luck. I have a sneaky suspicion who you're going to bring onto your podcast, and I think it's going to do okay. I think it's going to do well, but nobody competes with the 2 guests that I have today, and I'm very excited about it. I want to remind everybody that this podcast is sponsored by PrimeSource. I want to thank all the partners. All right, so our guest today is Al Tenenbaum, a.k.a. Elchanan Tenenbaum. I know some people call you Al, some people call you Elchanan. I call you Al. I don't even like the name Elchanan. I don't think it suits you. I think you're an Al kind of guy. And we also have Maier/Maier. He spells it in a very funky way. I believe you spell it Maier. And Maier, I'm not going to lie. I actually think that spelling does suit you because you're a very unique person. I think I'm very honored that I get to be your friend and I get to spend time with you and I got to know you over the years. And you are someone that has a very unique style. And you're like an undercover secret that not a lot of people know about. You don't let too many people in. You don't let a big crowd around you. But those that get to really be a part of your realm, I think we've come to appreciate what you bring to the table. Not to mention your unbelievable fancy suit that you're wearing here today. Okay, this was certainly a little bit overdressed for the occasion, but I'm not surprised. And you make anything look good, so kudos to you. And it's wow. I may also mention a little plug for Fino's. Fino's custom designed it, right? Absolutely. I'm a big fan. I try to get my suits for him as well. So I thought we could start by doing something a little interesting. I know you guys are big, avid golf, not just fans, but golf players.
Hold on, wait, before that, mentioned his suit. Last year, I believe to the day, in Shul, there was a raffle or bidding to support the Shul.
Ah, yes, I remember.
Which was to be taken with Maier to the suit place to get a suit. I
Yes.
paid my bill. I don't see a matching suit. I'm supposed to get an eccentric matching suit.
Right.
Where's that matching
It
suit?
didn't happen. It didn't happen. But I do remember that.
More my fault. That
I wanted to get one too. All 3 of us have a suit.
Yeah.
For the podcast.
Yeah, missed opportunity for sure. And we should still do it. It's not too late. I think the 3 of us should get
matching suits.
Yeah, I know.
If we win this,
and we should also walk into Shul at the same time. Like same time, we walk into Shul.
He's there very early.
You're gonna have to come early.
Yeah, exactly. You can't run late. You got to make sure that you're there on time. So, Maier, let me ask you something. A lot of people that we know, very, very secretive, about what they do for work. Some more than others. Some are very extreme, but some, you're generally more of a private person.
Yeah.
But, I don't know a whole lot about what you do. I do know that you have an ABA therapy company.
Right.
I think I know approximately what that means. What exactly does the company that you own, what does this company do?
ABA stands for Applied Behavior Analysis, which is a type of therapy that is approved by insurance to work with kids specifically diagnosed with autism. And unlike, let's say, physical therapy or occupational therapy or speech therapy, which some of those kids may also get, those are typically 2-3 hours a week. ABA can be up to 40 hours a week. And they work with something called board certified behavior analyst who creates treatment plans. We submit those treatment plans to insurance to get approvals. And then they oversee a behavior technician that works with the kid one-on-one. And so we have a clinic in Bloomfield, New Jersey, and we service kids in daycares or at home after school, things like that. So we are currently providing services throughout the state of New Jersey, mostly in the Northeast, and then also in the Dallas, Texas area.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Interesting. You explained that very well, by the way.
Thanks.
I feel like you really gave like a nice 60-second overview that gives the framework of what the company you own does. How did you get into this? How did you find this to be a viable business for you, and how did you get started?
So I had a son, my second son, who at the time was 2.5, developed an infection overnight, went into septic shock. I'm very blessed that he's still alive. He had 9 surgeries. We were in and out of the hospital for many, many months. And while I would walk the floors, there was a lot of stuff about autism. I knew people that were in the field, but I started thinking, it just put a, idea in my mind, like maybe I should do something with kids. It seems like it's a little easier. You don't need like a nursing home. You don't need real estate per se. I started researching that. I went to a conference and sort of like got it started without knowing enough. And I was very blessed to find phenomenal staff. Very blessed. They're still with us. I have 2 awesome clinical leaders. They're like family, and they've really helped us to grow. And we've grown tremendously. We have a lot of kids that we work with now, and we've done this in 4 years, and we're hoping to keep growing.
Wow. So you learned a lot of what you're doing today on the fly.
When I first started, I would think like, why doesn't everyone just start their own business? Which I think a lot of people think they can start because you technically don't need a lot of money. You don't need a real estate. But now that we've been around for 4 years, I laugh at myself because had I known everything I needed, I know now, I never would have started. It would have hindered me from starting. And we've had a lot of breaks along the way, for sure. Like we started in COVID. I think that helped us a lot because a lot of companies were not providing services. So kids were looking for services because their agency that they were working with wasn't providing services. There are a lot of things that happened that we had a lot of mazel, a lot of luck, a lot of good fortune, and we have a great team. I think you're only as good as your team. I also did a lot of research before I started. So all that time that I spent going to conferences or whatever and researching, and I taught myself a lot. A lot of people outsource a lot of things, and we don't outsource anything. So, that saves you money, but it takes time to figure out.
Wow.
I have a phenomenal clinical team. We've had many families who specifically wanted to speak to me to let us know their kid was nonverbal, and now they're speaking full sentences, and they're no longer in the program, and they've graduated, which is really nice.
Wow. So there's a personal side to this for you as well. I would
provide a great service no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
Obviously helping kids who can't speak be able to speak.
That's gratifying.
Unbelievable.
That's amazing. I tell our sales reps here all the time, don't think of what you're doing as just any job and you're just doing a sale and, you're consulting and you're helping people save money. Think about by the fact that a facility has more money to spend now, where that money, well, we hope, is being used, which is on the residents, on the people that live in this facility. It makes a difference. When you help them get a better distributor that has better quality food, they have better menus, makes a difference in people's lives. Think about your grandparents, our grandparents, that are in nursing homes sometimes, and they're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner there. And if you can make it a little bit better for them, you're really impacting people's lives. You are impacting children's lives. This is the most precious things that we have in our lives. This is amazing. So you get to make money, but you also get to really see transformations in a lot of these children.
When I started, I was very involved with every single thing, to the point where I even was involved with some of the early families, right? Like we got someone to apply. Now thankfully we have a lot of people applying every day, which is beautiful, and we're very blessed. But early on, I still remember like the first client that called after this BCBA left. And it was not a good case, meaning they were looking for very few hours. They didn't have great insurance. but you'll do anything at the time to make it work. But what stands out is there was this one family who had this kid, and some parents are just special parents. Like they'll do anything for their kid. And that was this family. And their kid really grew quite a bit, and they wanted to meet me in person. I don't always go into my office. So they wanted to meet me, and they brought flowers and a letter and a whole special thing. It was really, really nice. That's when it really hit home that like we're making a difference. You know, I don't know that we help every kid to the level that we help that kid. You know, also you have staff. Some people are better and work harder than others. There's only so much you can do. You know, sometimes you hire people that aren't the greatest. Sometimes you hire the people that are the greatest. And sometimes they're paired with that kid. Just recently, we have a party for all our kids on a Sunday. We rent a park and all that, and there was a family that came over to thank me. They would do anything. So we don't ever ask people to write reviews, but I asked them to write a review. Wrote a beautiful Google review about how much we've done for their kid. It's just the helping kids is nice too.
That's very special.
Very nice.
Al, we covered Maier and his work life, and what he does, and one could actually argue that your work life is more of a hidden secret, actually, than because I believe that there is a possibility that everything going on in your work life is all a front, and that you have to have a story, because nobody is able.
There's one person who can argue, who can say otherwise. It's me.
Both of you,
because
you both share this.
I'm with Al when he's at work.
All right.
No, it's real. Okay, so Al, tell us a little bit about.
He's got the big James Street project.
Why?
Oh, he's stalking you now.
Oh,
He's there with.
You got to talk lower.
No, what do you mean? Come on.
Talking about shafts and pipes.
All right, so Al, let's.
What do I do?
Yeah, but it's important that we know
it's
this.
very different. I'm the opposite of Maier. Maier was a trailblazer who started on his own, and really just took that lead. I'm the opposite. I'm part of a second generation business, which I was lucky enough to be invited by my father-in-law and my uncle-in-law to join their business 15 plus years ago. We do mechanical contracting, which is essentially air conditioning and heating. We do large scale commercial projects, but really what we do is we manage risk and manage people. That's really our business.
What does that mean, manage risk and manage people? When I hear HVAC, heating and cooling, I'm thinking the machines that you're selling.
Of course we do that.
Manage risk and manage people.
Yes, of course we do that. But essentially, it's providing a product in the current environment is very complex, I would say, with OSHA, which is safety regulations, just understanding how to build a proper system that functions, that's per code, that is efficient, that has longevity, that will be serviceable. All those things is what we do.
What's your role in the company?
So we're a family business that manages everything very hands-on. So basically every decision and every aspect of how the company functions is basically a podcast discussion of what the steps should be, how we should implement them. And that's basically what we do. My father-in-law, my uncle-in-law, and I have my brother-in-law and a cousin, basically roundtable discussion, our plan of action for how we should function as a company. We have, 200 employees and how they should work. Obviously, there's the nitty-gritty of actually bending metal and installing metal and welding metal and installing equipment, wires. It's a complex organism of how the business works. But ultimately, it comes down to making proper decisions, proper foresight, which is what every business is. Obviously, the core of every business is making sure that you have enough work to feed your people, feed the employees that you have, feed their families, make sure that the money is there for their payroll. Ultimately, we're simple contractors. We're not doing anything that's rocket science. We're essentially creating comfortable systems for people to live in.
Beautiful. So your father-in-law started this business?
Father-in-law and uncle-in-law started the business almost 40 years ago.
Wow. So they backstrapped it and,
Absolutely. They're Russian immigrants, and they came here. My father-in-law is an aeronautical engineer. He came here from Russia as essentially a Jewish refugee. And when he came here, he obviously was trained as an aeronautical engineer, which is, airplanes, things like that. And he interviewed with Boeing and other airplane companies. And the CIA basically said we can't have Russians involved in the 80s, in the early 80s. And so he's like, okay, I'll try air conditioning. It's a little bit kind of below my pay grade, but he kind of worked for a few companies, and he's like, listen, like Maier,
I can do this.
he was the mayor. He was the event. He's like, listen, we'll figure out. His brother was very handy. Started from the ground up,
And the two of them literally buying and then installing machines for people and taking any job.
Long process of 40 years is a very long time, and to have, and I think it's their wish and their goal to have this company be something that they can pass down for generations. And
so they have no intention of ever selling.
It's not, I think that.
Are they currently the sole owners, the two brothers?
Yes, it's the most unique. It's the most. I'm not going to go into like the details of it, but it's a very unique, loving structure that would never work anywhere else. It's based solely on trust for all the people that are involved, and it's based on love and trust, and it works, and it's worked for 40 years, and it's worked for the 15 years that I've been part of it, and it's the goal to nurture and foster that. I'm not saying that it works for everyone. I think it takes unique personalities to work properly.
You better believe it does.
It does.
It sounds to me, go very, very, very wrong. But I know your father-in-law a little bit. Like, I don't know him personally, but I know of him. I know about him, and he's a great fellow. And I can tell he's just wired differently.
Yeah.
And it's not surprising to me that he has this arrangement, with the family members that are part of the business. And I'm sure everybody carries their weight and does what they can. He probably doesn't even have a lot of expectations. He just wants everybody to step up as much as they could.
No, that's not true.
So he holds you accountable? Like,
not at all. It's real. It's a very real business.
No, I understand real, but
there's real accountability. Let's put it this way: not everyone's skills are necessarily quantifiable in a 9-to-5 kind of way.
So I totally understand what you're saying. Not every job is reflected or quantifiable at a 9-to-5, where you're sitting. Like, there's a lot of moving pieces, that are behind the scenes to a company that, really can make it very successful or not. But still, I will say that, you're very fortunate in both. All three of us. I think everybody sitting here are very fortunate that we have a job and that we're able to bring home an income. I mean, you guys are really fortunate. You can also do two things that you love. You get to be involved in a company that brings you joy, and also, your personal stuff, that your golf life that you love as well. This is a lightning round. I'm going to throw 10 questions at you guys, and I'm going to ask both of you the same question. Okay? So I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to give me the first answer that comes to your head, right off the top of your cuff, okay? And then I'm going to ask you the same question. And then I'm going to start the second question with you, and we're going to go back and forth. Okay? Now, obviously, these questions are around golf. You guys are very good representatives of the game of golf. You've mastered the craft, I want to say, of golf as far as an amateur can go.
Master is a difficult word.
You didn't master the game of golf?
Golf is like life. You can't master it.
No? You could always room for improvement.
Always.
That's the allure.
Because you keep chasing something.
You could have the #1 podcast in the world. You're still trying to get more subscribers, more listeners, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
it's never enough. Never enough. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to ask some questions. This is just to give a little flavor to the listeners about you and about, your golf experiences, okay? Basic questions. Don't overthink it. Don't, try to give the perfect answer. Just
how'd you come up with these questions?
I came up with them myself. I sat by my computer and I just thought of questions I would want to know that I was curious about, and I put it together. Right. Okay? Okay, here
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah, sure.
Usually we sit at Kiddush together, right? I know she has one rule only: no golf.
And no talking.
We can talk about anything except for golf.
Okay, so Al, you ready? I'm going to start with you, Al, then I'm going to ask you the same question, Maier, and then I'm going to turn question 2 to you, and then I'm going to go back and forth. All right. What's the nicest golf course that you ever played in? And why?
Maidstone.
Maidstone.
It's called Maidstone.
What was so nice about it?
It's on a piece of land that you could never buy now. It's in East Hampton. It's on the ocean, which is on the, I guess that would be the south side. It's the south side of the tip of Long Island, all the way out there in East Hampton. Like a half-acre plot of land there goes for $80 million, and this is 300 acres.
Wow. You played there once?
Played there one time.
One time? Okay, nice. All right, Maier, what was the nicest golf course you ever played in?
It's a great question. So I'm actually going to say something that's interesting that Al probably knows the answer to, but we just played a course called Atlantic, which is pretty close to Maidstone. It's not a great piece of property in the sense that it's not on the water, doesn't have the views, but the course was in phenomenal shape. There wasn't a blade of grass out of place. There wasn't a weed you could see. It was beautiful. It's not rated anywhere near some of the other courses we've played, but I loved it.
Wow. I wish you'd talk about me that way.
Yeah.
Or, about someone else. Amazing. Like the love that you have for the course is unbelievable. All right. So, Maier, what was the best score that you ever had at any course at any time throughout your entire playing career? What was your best score?
70.
70. So that's 2 below par.
Doesn't necessarily mean you're under par. Some courses are 68, 69. Typically it's 72. Sometimes it's 71. 2 under par.
Okay, Al, what was your best score that you ever did on any course?
64, which was 7 under.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But yeah, it wasn't my best round of golf, but that's my
Best final score
that was
after.
my best.
Okay, I'm sure there's a lot of people right now. They're like, "Wow, that's pretty impressive."
It's good.
Have you ever done that multiple times, or
Yes.
Oh, so but that was the lowest you've
I
ever
was
gone.
with him on one of them.
Yeah.
Oh, you were there, so you can back this up.
Yeah. And then on Sunday, I was 7 under through 16 holes.
Oh, so you ended up higher than
I
7.
went bogey par and shot 6 under. It was a shame.
Okay, Al, who's the most important person that you ever played golf with? Who's the most important person that you ever played with?
It's a tough question. There are 2 answers. One will be my son, Sammy.
No. That's not.
Whoa.
Let me rephrase this question. Not your most sentimentally important person.
We're both sentimental.
Important person, like celebrity-wise, like somebody that the masses know who they are. Who's the most important person you ever played with?
Important? You mean like who's the most famous
Yeah,
person?
sure, famous. Let me use the word famous. Nobody famous?
I mean,
Wealth, fame, or is
I guess you could say that.
no.
Yeah.
I would say I've played with Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, okay. Well,
Okay.
why are you holding that one back?
A regular at
That's pretty good.
Taylor.
Was he any good?
He's an excellent golfer. Yeah. He's
Very
pretty
famous.
famous. A lot of people love him for like what he did for the Giants, I guess.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
Not a football.
Is he still active? Does he still do anything like TV?
plays a lot of golf?
Just plays golf now?
Al, is he still a regular at Spookrock?
No, because that guy left. But he's around. He's definitely around this area because I'll probably do like signings of stuff or whatever. He's around.
Okay.
Still looks big and strong and.
All right, Maier, who's the most important person other than Al that you played with?
Yeah, so I don't know if I played with anyone that important. I played with John Flaherty, who does the Yankee game.
I played with Lawrence Taylor, John Flaherty. These are very famous people.
Yeah, when you meet famous, they're regular people.
I understand they're regular
Right,
people.
right.
I'm not saying they're gods, but it's a very famous person. So how did that come to be? How did you hook up with
So
him?
we used to be members at Rockland Country Club, and John is a member there, and his friend had a match against my friend, so we both played against each other. John was a nice guy. He was doing a Yankee game that night.
You're kidding me. So that night he was commentating the Yankee game?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so did you guys talk?
He was a really nice guy. I enjoyed it immensely. He played very well that day, too. He beat me.
Cell number?
I think I do, yeah.
You know who I met? So I played with who's the head writer of SNL?
Now?
Colin Jost.
Colin Jost. So
Colin
Colin Jost,
yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. So I'm playing with Colin Jost, and fine, we play. A week or two later, we play again, and we finish playing, and we go in. I change, he changes, and all of a sudden, he like is standing by the carts, and he's rocking like a baby carriage, and he goes, "Al, come meet my son Cosmo." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Oh yeah, he's 1 week old. We just had the baby." I'm like, "Oh," and then he introduced me to his wife.
She was standing right there?
Sitting right there. And so I go home and I'm like, "Listen," I tell my wife, I'm like, "Listen, I just met, Scarlett and Colin Jost. They had a baby. You can't say a word to anyone." And
Oh, this was under...
this is the baby was a week old. And my wife goes
so
on
the public
internet.
didn't even know about this yet.
My wife's like, "It can't be. It's nowhere on the internet." I'm like, "Listen, this is a private place. You can't tell any of your friends until it becomes, public knowledge." And like she almost didn't believe me. And then a month or two later, it comes out, and I told her, I said, "Mark my words, this is the baby's name. I met the baby. And he is the nicest, most down to earth guy in the world. She is too. I mean, she's a little probably, being famous like that.
She's a lot more famous than he is.
Yeah,
She's worldwide known.
She's probably top 3 most, highest grossing female actresses around, but also very normal.
What was your reaction? Like when you were standing there and Colin Jost introduced you to his baby and then to his wife, Scarlett.
My reaction was, I'm so excited to tell this to my wife because I know she'll enjoy it.
I'm enjoying this. So many people would enjoy hearing this.
And you know what? He was there, and there were probably 50 people that saw them, and it didn't get out at all until they publicly went out with it. So it just shows.
Wait a second. So you were golfing with Colin Jost?
Yeah, and at a place where we We have mutual friends that set the game up together.
Wait a second. So when I asked you who's the most important person you golf,
Can't say important.
he's very. So what did you guys talk about? Did you talk about anything?
I mean, I asked him about what it's like to be a head writer of SNL and like how much preparation it is. He told me hysterical stories that, you know, how he pranks, Michael Che, who's on it with him. Some crazy stories.
So did you golf together with him?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
So he saw you golf, he saw you swing, and he saw you play.
Yeah, we played together.
Was he impressed? Did he comment?
Nobody cares.
Oh, they don't care.
The
So
thing is, you have a
Who cares?
handicap, so everybody sort of knows what your level is. You can't be a 10 handicap, which is okay, and then all of a sudden shoot par.
right,
It's not. That means you're cheating.
right.
So you know in advance of how good someone is.
So anybody can play with anybody. It doesn't really matter because you
that's
just
about
apply the right handicap.
Competitively, you can compete with anybody because you're not playing against each other.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm still blown away by this Scarlett Johansson thing. This is amazing. I don't think I've ever met a real celebrity. My sister has a knack for meeting celebrities, and she has the pictures to prove it. Whenever she meets someone, she always takes a picture. Taylor Swift, Britney Spears. She was in an elevator with Will Ferrell, with Paula Abdul. Like she has like a somehow she bumps into them all over the place. But this is a real time celebrity.
You have to play it cool.
You know, we also had a round with Ushy Schwartz.
Oh, stop it.
Well,
Stop
one
it.
day that'll be our biggest celebrity.
I mean, someone's going to watch this podcast in 10 years from now.
Well, we'll
Right?
see. We'll look back.
What am I missing? Well,
He's saying in 10 years, we're going to look back and say, well,
yeah,
you
yeah.
had a podcast with Ushy Schwartz. There's no question that Scarlett Johansson is the real deal. It's like top
You know,
notch.
you play golf.
That was better than the whole golf day.
demure,
Yeah?
very,
She was nice also?
very nice.
Do you have cell numbers? Do you have Colin's cell number? Did you even ask for it?
No,
No.
Colin's number.
no,
No.
you gotta play it cool. Come on.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm glad I asked that question, by the way. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have heard the story.
See, if you would have at least let us speak about golf, you would have heard this story.
Let me finish the questions. All right. Question 4. Mayor, what was the most holes you played of golf in one day?
72.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that even possible?
Yes. So we played 18 holes in one round. We played 4 different rounds. Al and I did this, of course. 4 different rounds, 4 different courses on the same day. In North Carolina, we took a trip and we teed off about 7:35, and we played the first round in about 2 hours and 45 minutes, and we played the next round in about 3 hours, then the next one in 2 hours, and then about 3 hours. Nice 14-hour day, 72 holes.
And then you died.
No, then we were back out for 54 holes the next day.
Oh yeah.
We played about 160 something holes.
In 3 days.
And we flew down Sunday, played 2 rounds, played 4 rounds Monday, 3 rounds Tuesday, and flew back Tuesday night.
You're kidding me.
This is
And
July.
so I'm
This is July.
guessing
Hold on.
it's the same for you.
This is July 4th weekend in North Carolina. It was 95 degrees with 90% humidity. The one thing that was unexpected was our hands were just throbbing because the humidity, I guess, just was made holding the club and swinging the club like impossible.
You know, a big part of me is very envious of you guys.
You should
I'm
be.
very jealous because I don't know if I have a passion
Oh.
for any as much as you have the devotion, the dedication that you have to this sport. To play that kind of volume straight through. So you went on a binge. You went on a 3-day binge.
We're very proud of this 72. We didn't. We're playing the other day with a guy. And he goes, we do the thing called the summer solstice, where I guess somewhere around June 21st or whenever it is, where it's the longest day of summer. He goes, oh yeah, we played from sunup to sundown. He had 201 holes in one day, which comes out to 18.
It was like
19
11 rounds? No, 11 rounds. 11 rounds. 11 rounds.
Is it 11? Right, 11 rounds.
That's insane. Can you even physically like swing that many times
don't know.
without getting so
Were they
sore that you can't lift
riding?
the club?
Riding, right.
They were riding.
Separate
Oh, okay.
carts. You know, we play legitimate golf, and we could have played 9 more holes that day.
Yeah.
We didn't play at our own course where people let us play through. We played 4 different courses, which is nearly impossible.
So
Oh, yeah.
you drove
Yeah.
from course to
Yeah.
course to course.
We didn't have the intention to do this. As we finished one, we're like, all right, let's do another one.
They're high. Like, let's keep going.
Absolutely.
We almost played 9 more holes. We had a little more time.
Mad respect. Wow,
It was a great day.
unbelievable.
It was a lot of fun.
By the way, when I made this question, I was like thinking to myself, what would they answer? I was thinking probably like, I don't know, 36 holes, 52, 72, something like that.
The next 100 guys you have are asking them how many holes they played. The max you'll get is 36.
36, right? That would be a lot. You played twice.
It was the highlight. it's the best
it was
golf
awesome.
trip we ever. It's
All right. You guys have a lot of stamina, a lot of
yeah.
endurance.
it's
Amazing. Okay, cool. All right, next question.
Crazy thing was I shot 81 all 4 rounds. Like
The same score.
same score.
different
4
courses.
different
Same, yeah.
It's the weirdest thing.
What did you shoot that day?
I don't know.
The best one. You don't remember. You remember every single score that you get every game that you play?
No. But when you play a course for one time, let's say you talked about Maidstone, I almost remember every shot I had or every hole. Same with Atlantic or the courses I played once that I really enjoyed or took a trip. You know, trips are special because when we do trips, it's like all golf. Like most people do a trip and then they're doing darts or fishing, whatever. It's like, God, it's got to be golf all day.
Wow.
It's the only way it's
Not only that, because we keep kosher, a lot of people, you know, their trips revolve around food. Like, where are we going and where can there be food? Maier has shakes, and that's all he eats, and maybe like a couple bars, and I'm just eating bars and cereal and granola. Maybe we'll have like some pastrami, but there's barely any food. We're just running on fumes.
So you're traveling all over the country throughout the year, playing at different courses.
Not the year.
Over the years, you've gone
one
to a
or
lot
two
of different
trips
places.
a year. Yeah.
What do you typically do?
I'll bring some cold cuts, or we'll just have bars, beef jerky and bars, and that's it.
All right, next question is, Al, this is for you. Okay. What's your preferred brand in golf? What's your preferred go-to brand? What's your favorite brand?
apparel or clubs or what?
Apparel, yeah.
That's like asking to teach the Torah on one leg.
Is there really? Is that there's so many brands in golf? What?
There's so much depth.
It's like going to Fino and there's different materials. You're not going to only get Style Biella. There's other ones, right?
All right, I already regret this. Okay, so forget
you
it.
have
This
to
sounds too
understand,
complicated.
golf, you think is like a sport. It's almost a religion. And so you're asking questions that have lots of layers.
For 'em, if I can.
Go ahead.
Len belts. Len belts is the answer.
What is Len belts?
Anybody can look it up. Len belts.
Oh, God.
Len belts?
Yes.
And they make everything.
They make belts.
Just belts?
Belts, wallets.
Do the professionals on tour wear Len belts?
Very few.
What's so good about Len belts? What?
Just beautiful.
Okay. Most expensive golf equipment or gear that you own. It could be a club. It could be I don't know, a pair of shoes, whatever it is. And what's the price?
Len belts, $14.95.
That's what one belt costs? That's like a small mortgage.
Yes, it's expensive.
Wow.
Yes.
And it's the brand.
No.
that you're paying
No
for.
one knows.
To be honest,
I mean, the
don't-
material is only so much
I don't
money.
know that we've played with anyone ever wearing person.
Few guys.
We both have a bunch, but
We got
That's
them
the
when they
most-
were cheaper.
That's the most expensive thing that you own?
No, I have something that's much more.
Okay.
Oh, she's like companies right now listening to the podcast going, oh my gosh, know the two guys that bought our belts? They're on the podcast right now.
Exactly. You built their business for them. Okay. Where is your bucket list golf destination that you haven't gone to yet that you have to get there before you die?
There's 3 answers.
Okay.
So the one that's very attainable that hopefully will happen within the next year is Shinnecock.
What? You want to say that again?
It's called Shinnecock Golf Club.
Where is it?
It's in Shinnecock Hills. It's called Shinnecock Hills. It's in Southampton. It's where they host the U.S. Open.
Really?
Yeah, it's a legendary place. It's supposed to be.
So what has
never
stopped
been there.
you from going there?
It's very difficult to get an invite.
So it's difficult to get in. So there are people that have memberships there, and they have to invite.
Like Bloomberg is a member there.
It's a very elite place.
Super elite.
So all the high-end people have.
Like I wouldn't say that there's
expensive?
There. Exclusive. They host like the U.S. Open for golf every 6 to 10 years, and that generates like was it 10, 12, $8 million.
So have you gone to watch the tournament?
No, it's very difficult to get there.
To go watch a tournament to buy a ticket?
Well, no, that's easy. But to get out there, there's one road in, one road out. It's very difficult.
Is it going to happen now? Are you going to?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I'll always try to bring Maier. So far, it's worked out, but
that's your bucket list.
No, that's 1A, and then 1 is Augusta National, which is where they play the Masters.
Nice.
In Augusta, Georgia.
I didn't know Augusta's in Georgia. I wasn't aware, but it's just in Georgia. Is that hard to get into, or is it something you're not?
Yes.
It's also hard to get there.
That's the hardest.
The hardest?
The hardest.
Wow. What's your plan? How are you going to do it?
I have ways.
Okay. Mayor, what's your...
It hasn't worked yet, though.
The bucket list is the same place as him, or do you have your own...
So let me just give a little background to there are private courses where people are members, and then in order for you to join, you either got to become a member, which may be impossible. It might be hundreds of years of wait lists, or you need to be somebody. We have a guy that we know that is a member at our club, which is Manhattan Woods, who's very wealthy, and he wanted to join Augusta. He's worth well into the billions, and he was turned down. So it's not a money thing because
They're looking for
not a
younger
great
members.
golfer or whatever it is. But when you asked the question, I sort of understood it as what's a place that we can go. There are many destination places that are public that are beautiful. Some of the top courses in the world are public. You just need to be able to get a tee time, and you pay $300-$400 or whatever it costs. But there are private places like Shinnecock or Augusta, and there it's not about money. It's about if you know somebody.
YSV. It's like big YSV. Who do you know?
Yeah.
Who's on the board?
Into YSV is like getting into the Pentagon.
Imagine YSV. Right now, there's 1,000 kids in YSV. Imagine that you had a YSV. Every class had 10 kids, and you had the size of the community that we're in trying to get into YSV with 10 kids per class. It'd be very difficult.
What type of class would
Or
that
maybe
look like?
maybe 2 kids per class.
Wow. Interesting. Okay.
Right, so then you need to know a member, and you need the member to have you take him. Now you have to realize that every guy that this member knows that plays golf wants him to take him there. It's annoying. He's like, stop asking me. I got the next 100 guys already asking me.
Right.
Okay? Then the clubs make rules. Like Shinnecock has a rule that you can only bring 6 guests a month. That means a typical round of golf is with 4 people, so the host and 3 guests, and you can do it twice a month in the summer because they don't want all these guests there. The members want to play themselves. I don't want guests in my club all day. But it's difficult to get on. It's not about money. It's about who you know.
I hope you take a lot of pictures when you finally get there.
But the number 1 course in the world is actually in New Jersey. It's called Pine Valley.
What makes it the number 1 course in the world?
We have never played it.
Well, how does it get ranked? What's it predicated on?
The land is just the way it's very private.
Is it the most expensive?
No.
None of these have to do
So
with
it's just the most coveted.
It's not on the ocean. Like Shinnecock's not on the ocean. Shinnecock is right next to water, and you can't see any water. There are 2 other courses right next to it that are on the water, which is more beautiful. But it's something about it is supposedly unbelievable.
Wow.
The rolling land. You want rolling land, not flat. You don't want mountainous. You want
Right. Because you do a lot of walking, so you want it to be easy on the legs. Okay. What is your biggest pet peeve about other golf players?
This is a great question.
Your biggest pet peeve? Like what annoys you? What irks you when you're golfing with someone, or even if not golfing with them, but things that people do that really annoys you?
I'll go first. I'm going to go first.
No, you only get to pick one.
Nothing bothers you, Al.
It's true. I try not to let anything bother me.
But if we had to
my
nitpick,
number 1 goal.
If we were having that kind of day, what would you
Playing
pick?
slowly.
Isn't that, that's like not proper etiquette to
People
play
that-
slowly. Isn't that like I'm not a golfer and I know that it's not proper to hold up the.
Yeah, but does the guy driving 50 in the left lane know he's going slow, or he just thinks it's like that's normal?
So you're saying they're delusional about it.
They're
Like
just-
they don't even realize.
they don't-
Now, would you say something to someone that when you see that happening?
It depends.
Because me, I don't have it in me not to say something. When I see somebody doing something that irks me, and this is a big problem I have, and it gets me into a lot of trouble. But I have to say something. I feel like it's my duty to say something. If I don't say something, who will say something? And then they'll never know. I'm almost doing the person a favor by saying something. You don't do the same thing?
No.
So you just keep it quiet and you suffer?
No, and that'll be the last time I play with them.
Oh, so you're saying slow people that play with you.
Oh, yes.
I thought you were talking about people that in front of you are playing slowly.
Then I'll whistle.
Then you would say something.
Oh, yeah.
But let them know that I'm watching and you're out of line.
Yeah. You get-
Pick it up. But guys that play with you, and it's not going to play with them again.
I'll try to gently, prod people along. All right, we got to pick up here and keep moving.
Now, people
You
are
don't
playing.
wanna hold- No.
They want to make sure they're hitting their best shot.
Some
they're-
people are slow, some people are fast. Being good or bad has nothing to do with it.
Okay.
You can be the worst player in the world and play fast, and you can be the best player and play slow.
Okay. Yeah. What's your biggest pet peeve?
So,
and Mayor,
it's
you
really
got to stick to one.
Yeah, it's one pet peeve,
Yeah.
really. And many people have that do this, but it's pretty much making noise and moving while one is about to hit. It's something I need to work on and get better at.
But I feel like that's something that's very commonly understood. Is when a player is hitting. It's not just in golf, in any sport. When a tennis player is serving,
Correct.
right? You can't make noise at that moment. Like, it's very normal.
There are all these stories about Tiger Woods when he was growing up and his father would drop keys or make noises in his backswing to try to
Distract him.
strengthen his mental game, which I'm sure helped him. There are videos of him stopping his back, in middle of his swing before hitting balls, and announcers saying like, "How could he possibly do that?" or whatever. But yeah, that kind of thing bothers me. But usually, what I believe happens is the people that do it are not bothered by that, so they don't see peripherally. Like I notice a lot of movement or sound.
Do
No,
I move while you're hitting?
no.
No, okay.
Matt, you're talking about like the person that's playing with you.
Caddies at carrier clubs. Once in a while, you'll play with a random caddy at another course, and the guy will just start walking while you're hitting, and I see it. And what happens is I take my mind sort of wanders to him, which it shouldn't. It should stick with my plan of what I'm trying to do when I hit the ball. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking about that, and I hit a bad shot, and it just ruins my whole round.
Maier, I got to tell you, you're triggering something for me right now.
I'm sure I am.
You really are triggering something for me right now because I have a story with you. So for those that don't know, you're a master balkore. Okay, so for those non-Hebrew speaking folks, a balkore is somebody who reads the Torah every single week in a synagogue. You have to have a professional that does it because the words and the tune that it goes in is not just plainly written. And it has to be done by someone who's practiced and knows what they're doing. And you're one of those guys. And I have to say, you do a phenomenal job. I think our synagogue particularly is very fortunate that we have someone that knows how to do it well, because a lot of synagogues have people that aren't that great. And it's hard to listen to sometimes, but you're very easy to listen to. And we've had people who've come to our shul and who've spent Shabbos by us and heard you and said the same thing. Like, we get always good feedback from people and say, you're a balkore? Well, he knows what he's doing. So we're very fortunate. And I want to dial this back, like, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. I think today, Maier, you're a different person in a lot of ways than you used to be. But I remember a story that happened where I was just kind of minding my own business, and you were laning, you were doing your thing. So you thought I was, correct. And I fidgeted the wrong way, or I did something, and you stopped. You stopped dead in your tracks, and you gave me a look, and everybody stopped with you, because as soon as the balkore stops, the whole show's like, whoa, what's going on? What's happening? And it became a scene, a very dramatic scene unfolded right in front of me. But you stopped and you looked at me. It was for not a long time. It was for a few seconds, but that's all it took. When that happened, it was a shocking moment. And
it's a perfect...
Because it bothered you, because
same thing.
Somebody made a movement while you were performing your art. You were doing your art, and somebody interfered with that. And when you're saying this about golf, that's your pet peeve. It makes perfect sense. Like, it's very in line.
I have to concentrate, and both I've grown. I'm much stronger. I don't have to prepare to the same extent, and I don't have to concentrate as much. So things moving around, making noises.
It doesn't bother you as much.
But in golf, it's very much like that. I need to be able to focus on what I'm trying to do. And if for whatever reason, something takes me away from that ability to focus, I lose it. And it doesn't always get me. Sometimes I don't notice it. Sometimes I will say, like, hey, did I get you? Meaning, like, did he do something I didn't notice? But there are certain people that I have no idea what's going on. I literally...
They're almost obnoxious about it.
I always wonder, what is a guy on a 4-lane highway doing on the left lane going 50?
That's one of my pet peeves, too.
What are you doing?
It's very selfish. Yeah. It's very self-centered. It's like the world is your ashtray. It's like, I'm going to drive in a left lane at my own pace, my own speed, and forget about the people that are behind me. It's like, it's very selfish. But I mean, you would not have done this 6 months ago. If I did that same motion, whatever I did 4 or 5 years ago, you would not have done that today. Now, I'm curious, by the way, big change. You're one of the more well-tempered people that I know today. It's hard to get a rise out of you. You don't really get upset. But back in the day, you weren't, that's also you weren't getting upset with it, but you were very passive-aggressive about it. Today, you're in control. Like, you're a different person. I'm curious, in life, like, what was that trigger for you? What was that point? What happened? Maybe it wasn't one particular thing that happened. It was a series of events. What was it that changed, that brought you to this calm place, this confident place that you're in today? You're exuding this, you have it all together. And at one point, it wasn't like that. You were rigid. You were tough. You had to walk on eggshells around you almost.
Absolutely.
So what was it? Walk us through that.
It was definitely a mix of a few things. First of all, I want to say that I'm not like that in golf. I wish I had that capability in golf. Everyone who plays golf with me sort of feels that way, the way you're describing the walking on eggshells kind of thing.
Final frontier.
It's if I can conquer that, so I don't have all the answers.
He doesn't play golf. I just want you to know that.
He's not perfect.
No, he's retired.
He's retired.
He's quit. He's quit golf.
Who's saying?
Maier has quit golf. He doesn't play golf. He only plays pickleball now.
It's just
permanent.
That's how you know the love is real, is he's fighting with golf right now. He's having an argument.
Hard.
But he'll go right back. We're not worried.
Yeah.
But you were saying.
I always threaten to quit golf. And I
threaten? He quits.
I quit.
I quit. I'm retired.
But I'm going to tell Al. Al doesn't even know this. So I quit golf like a week ago because I had a rough round. And I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
It's not because you had a rough round.
But that day that I quit, I booked a lesson. For a few weeks later. I was just going to I figured I'll take off with Jason.
Okay.
But he wasn't available.
He asked me about you.
He wasn't available. You could read my message with him. But so I always threaten to quit golf because, as you know, and as you've pointed out, I like to do things well, or at least to the best of my ability. I've gotten really good at golf. I've gotten a lot better, but I'm just not at the level that I want to be at, and it kills me. So similar to the way I used to lane and the way you describe that instance where I lasered at you and I took a break and whatever it was, I haven't conquered that mental aspect of golf. But to answer your question, what changed? I'd say a couple of things. I wasn't at the place I wanted to be in business. And I think that really changed my mindset. It really changed the way I feel about things. I think the confidence is there, but I need to still get better at golf with that.
It's very true. People don't give enough credence to how they look externally, which makes them feel internally. I have a friend. He's been overweight his whole life. And I know how deeply it bothers him. When he shares that with me, we're very close, so he tells me about it. But it goes even further than what he actually vocalizes to me. I know how and all he does is he builds his entire day around how he's going to lose weight, because to him, that's the most important thing. And outside looking in, he has a lot of amazing things. He's a really quality person. He has a lot good going for him, but this is one area that he really struggled with. And it really hurts your confidence. It really does. And that's why when people are overweight, they'll go through drastic measures to try and lose weight. Like they'll go through surgery. I mean, they'll cut themselves open in order to, and it's not just, somebody being shallow. It's a real thing. We as humans, we really do internalize how we look externally. It's important to us, and I can respect that. Now,
even when you're successful financially, very few people go and show their bank statements or how much they're making. It's an internal feeling.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, your feeling of success, same with laning, like nobody's judging. Nobody cared if I made a mistake or if I laned at a certain speed. Nobody said anything. It's my own internal evaluation of what I did. Same with everything in life. Like, I don't know, for me, some people, have social media and they're all about like what others think. For me, it's about what I think. And I can't trick myself. I know if I'm doing well as a husband or as a father or in business or in golf. I don't care if somebody says good shot or not. I know if it was a good shot.
Right.
That's all I care about is what I think.
It sounds like you really hold yourself accountable.
Yes. It's a blessing and a curse.
And you're sure they don't correct you? Like, it never happens?
No, nobody would.
They're out.
Nobody would dare.
I'm saying, because
There's one guy who likes
there are
tries to
shuls
correct
that
me.
actually.
I would like to think I don't make many mistakes.
His last one was Achicha?
No. Could be. Usually when I make a mistake, I underline it.
I write it.
So I know for the next year.
Right.
On this, I'm sorry that we're spiraling here. I didn't even get to question number 10 yet, but you mentioned something that really hit home with me a little bit. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little personal right now.
Oh, absolutely.
I apologize in advance, but I started seeing a therapist, 3-4 months ago. And it's not just a therapist, it's like a rabbi therapist. So it's like coming from a spiritual place, but also from a real, therapy place as well, like a licensed therapist as well. And one of the things that I've been learning is about giving yourself a pass, not being so harsh on yourself, not being a critic, and not feeling like you're not good enough and you can do better, and always trying to chase something more. Sometimes it's okay to say, I actually did a great job. I'm actually putting in the effort. I'm putting in the time. And I think that's very important. And kind of what you were saying, that you really do hold yourself to a high pedigree, and to a very, very high degree. And you're, anything less than reaching 100% of it to you seems like it's a failure. It's like it's all or nothing. It's black or white. And there's a lot of people like that hold themselves to a very, very high regard. I can't live that way. For me, I have to accept that it's not going to be perfect. And you know what? I want to actually give myself not just a pass, but compliment myself that you got the 70%, you got the 75%. If your kid comes home and has a test score and shows you a 82, you have two things you can do. You can either say 82, where'd you go wrong? You can focus on that. Or you can say, wow, 82, that's a high score. That's amazing. Let me see the questions that you got right. Does that resonate with what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I would never say anything to my kid if he got 82. Like, he did his best. That's great. You always try as best you can. That's what I think. I think I should be easier on myself, but I just have never been able to figure out how. And what's interesting about golf is I've gotten better. Like just about every year I've gotten better by playing with Al the last few years many times a week. He's a phenomenal player, way better than I am. I've gotten better. The problem is once you shoot 70, I believe I should shoot 70 every time.
You know what you're capable for yourself.
Once you taste it, it's hard to go back, right? Once you fly first class, it's hard to go back. Once you fly private, it's hard to go back. It's hard to sit in the back of the middle seat in Spirit after you fly private, right? It's just a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
If you can give yourself a pass and just say, hey, my goal is to get there, and it's just a destination thing, big deal. But most people can't do that. I can't do it.
Yeah. By the way, not for nothing, but, talking about therapy here, Al, I'm going to address this to you, okay? Therapy has been stigmatized, at least in our community. It's been stigmatized as something negative, right? If there's something wrong, then you have to go to therapy. If there's something really good, you should go to therapy, in my opinion. You don't want to get too high, you don't want to get too low. When I got married, my wife pushed me to do therapy very early on in the beginning for building tools, prevention. Why wait till there's a problem and then do treatment? Why not give yourself a good chance of succeeding by getting those tools up front? And in our community, therapy is like, whatever, okay, oh, that person has problems. You're seeing a therapist. Ooh, I wonder what their problems are. It's looked down upon. And what a shame, because therapy can be really enlightening. It can be very helpful and, turn people's lives around and for the better, So what's your take on therapy? And specifically, I'm curious, with therapy for children, meaning...
Oh, I'm all...
At an early age, a session, what's your take on that? What do you feel about?
So I have 4 kids. One son goes to therapy every single week. And I don't know what type of therapy you're referring to, but I actually have other kids that go to other types of speech or reading therapy. And I consider a golf lesson therapy. Any kind of opportunity you have to get better, to have someone kind of give you input on what you're doing is therapy. And I think that my wife is my therapist. I think she's very highly qualified to be my therapist for, at least what I'm willing to share, which is most things. I'm a pretty simple person. No complications here.
What about therapy? By the way, you're opening my eyes because I'm using the word therapy in a very specific way, but you're expanding. Right. Anything that helps you improve. Yeah. Therapy has to be something that I guess provides calmness,
physical therapy,
that you can now think rationally and that you can now learn from, and then you can grow to make better decisions in the future. Right. I would say something to that effect.
I think it's to therapize therapy is a remedy for something. But you're talking about therapy from like a mental health perspective.
Absolutely. I happen to think that therapy, searching back in one's childhood, which is where everything starts, and whether we realize it or not, it manifests itself in a lot of ways later on in your. I happen to be a big fan of it here at Prime Source in general. All of us, we actually bring in a rabbi who comes in once a month into our company and does, I don't want to call it a speech because it's not what it's very engaging, but it's really meant just to talk about how to be better people, how to grow personally, how to be more motivated, how to wake up and feeling better about yourself, how to not be your harshest critic. Like things like that, those are topics. And then we offer the employees a chance to also talk one-on-one with this person if they want to and continue the conversation, because we encourage that. We feel like if people are feeling better about themselves, they'll be more productive and it'll serve us all. It has a big effect on people around you when you're not your best version. Your kids, your wife, your friends, everybody suffers when someone is not feeling well. And I want to tell you, I was just talking to someone. This was shocking to me. I was just talking to someone and they were telling me that they don't feel connected to our community, to the people, to the neighbors. So they don't feel connected and they don't feel like they're a part of it. And I'm like, what? You're not, what are you talking about? You're very part of, like, from what I see, it just shows how little we know. And it shows how blind we are, right? And what's happening is that the people in his life immediately are probably being affected by it because that person, I think we owe it not to ourselves. We owe it to the people around us to be the best versions that you can be. And I think my wife was very astute when she brought it up in the beginning is, let's try to set ourselves up for success. Let's give ourselves a chance, a fighting chance. But in our community, unfortunately, it's been stigmatized. I think get in tune with yourself. Get in touch with what happened in your lives and what triggered certain things and learn more about yourself. I think it's a beautiful thing. There's nothing to be ashamed of. And I was taught when I was younger, and we perpetuate this sometimes, is you have to be a little bit ashamed, you have to keep things under the rug. And no, that's not how you get better. That's actually how you escalate. That's how it festers. And that's how it becomes. I'm very passionate about this.
Yeah.
Because I think that, and I've seen people around and it's a big deal. It makes a big change. And we should embrace it. We should embrace it more. So that's why I like to ask, what are your thoughts about it? And I think for our kids, I think schools should institute this gym class, this math class, therapy class. Therapy class, one-on-ones with the kids, just to check-ins. Just,
I'm saying the parents should individually deal with it. I mean, the school is that'd be very difficult.
that's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about a class where they actually teach them how do you deal with anger when anger arises. Like what's, why is it important, not to be addicted to things and I don't know, just basic things to start the conversation.
Right, I listen to that. That's
exactly.
addiction and
when we get older is when we start working on ourselves.
I think therapy is a great thing. I think therapy, the way I understand therapy is to better yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I actually think this podcast is therapeutic. How often do we sit? I mean, I don't go to therapy, but I would go if I thought if it would do something for me. Sometimes you're not sure who the right person to go to is and things like that.
That's a challenge.
If somebody could, comment about a good therapist to help me with my golf issues, then great, I would do it.
That's where your problems lie in your golf game. Everything else is swimmingly doing okay.
golf is a metaphor for life.
Golf is like life. How often does one sit down and get posed questions that you respond to, and you bring out things you don't even know we weren't planned. I didn't see any of these questions.
Yeah.
Right, and it's therapeutic.
Yeah. By the way, now that we're talking a lot, it keeps circling back to golf. I feel like I'm back at kiddish with you guys. It goes back to golf. So let me circle to actually one of the questions that's relevant for this, but it kind of opens up the door.
Scheffler and Augusta. I mean, we probably should talk.
Okay, I think there's a question a lot of people want to know. And this is probably also good pointers for people that have the desire to play golf as often as you guys do, because let's face it, you guys play golf a lot. I'm talking about it really covers a bulk of your day. You're busy, with golf. But how did you get your significant others to sort of participate and really enable this type of life that you have? Do they ever? I think most people couldn't get away with it. Now, I get it. You're both very good, and it's for the greater good and all. But let's be realistic. There's got to be a line in the sand somewhere. I feel like you're crossing that line many times, but it's still going. You're still doing it. What's the secret? What's the secret? How do you do this? Maier, I'm going to start with you.
You're not going to love the answer, but she just, I didn't do anything. I don't coax her into it. She just, even today, which Al mentioned, I've been on break for a week, and she's like, why don't you go play? She's just a really sweet person. I don't know. She knows I like it. She knows I enjoy it, and she wants me to be happy. I don't know. It's pretty lame. It's not. You might want to edit that out. You're really not going to get you subscribers for that.
Okay, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I don't believe you. I believe that there is some type of arrangement or something that we're holding back in us. But Al, I'm going to turn it to you. I'm going to turn to you and ask you, like, how do you balance it out? What do you have to give up? What else are you giving up that makes up for your lavish, exquisite lifestyle?
Whoa, that's heavy.
Yeah,
That's the fact that Mayor's wife allows him, so she can't, competition. Like if Mayor's wife lets, then of course my wife has to let, so she has to keep up. So I know that marriages have been like broken up over golf. I know 2 or 3 people intimately that literally would go to the golf course, change into their golf clothes, play golf, change back into their whatever clothes and go back home and not be able to tell their wives. I think it comes down.
We recently played with 2 random guys, 2 different guys, 2 different times, and both had a similar story. Hey, I just had my first kid, so I've only been able to play like once a week now. And then like a few minutes later, they'll ask us, what's your situation? Are you guys married? Yeah, we're married. You have kids? You have 4 kids? You both have 4 kids?
And they're wide-eyed. They can't believe it.
They can't play because they have 1 kid. Except for maybe once a week. We can't even play on Shabbos, otherwise we'd be playing. So
you don't see guys like you on the course a lot. Either the older people that are, they already have grandkids, they have the time, they retired. I mean, you guys are in the prime of your life.
Yes.
And you're really having the luxury of doing what, and I'm very happy for you. Don't get me wrong, very happy for you. But you guys recognize that it's, an anomaly. It's not very common.
It's a good, like I always think to myself, like, these are the best years of my life. And I've been thinking that since I'm 10 years old. That's literally how I wake up every day. And I think to myself, these are the best years of my life. Live as well as you can. Enjoy every day. And I've repeatedly told my wife every single year, like our kids are young, little kids, little problems. These are the best years, like we're young. And as we gotten older, our kids are still, and now I have a teenager, I have a 15-year-old. He's an excellent kid, 12.
For sure. Well, good for you. I'm happy for you.
But, I can't answer it. Sometimes it's just, I don't want to call it luck or it's just a blessing.
Okay, cool.
I guess.
So I have a question I'm very curious about. I actually know this is a thing, but I don't know how it actually works. When it comes to a business deal, that you're chasing after. And you agree to go out to the course and you go with the client and whatever it might be, right? There's an etiquette, I imagine. I think there's an etiquette of how you approach that first question or that first time you bring up when it comes to the business part of it. Let's face it, if I would go to the course with someone, I'm going strictly because I want to get to do business with him. I don't care about golf. I'm not interested in golf. For me, it's tedious. I just want to get through with the golf. Just like, I don't even know at what point am I supposed to talk about business between holes, in the club at the very end, when everybody's going to drink, before in the driveway and get it out of the way and then go. I'm not sure how it works. What is the policy protocol? What guidelines can you give when it comes to what's your best chances of getting a solid deal done and doing it in a professional way? What's the etiquette when it comes to business? How does it work? And I generally don't know, so I'm asking.
All right, I'll answer because Maier's never done anything business related on the golf course. I would say like this. I think in business, if you're looking at simply as transactional, as like I'm trying to sell something to you and you're trying to buy something from me, it's really a low level of business. When it's simply, you're going to the cash register and you're giving someone money for whatever goods you sell. I think when you get to a slightly higher level of business, you're really dealing with relationships. And that's really what golf is. Golf allows you, like this, we're sitting here talking about, we're sitting here for an hour, 2 hours talking to each other where we normally won't do this. Golf affords you the ability to walk around for 4 hours together with no distractions, to speak to each other, to learn about their families, learn about the person, see how they carry themselves, how they manage themselves around the golf course. They could be good, they could be bad. Like the quality of their golf doesn't matter. Although I do believe that the better golfer kind of makes people believe that if you're competent in one area, you're probably competent in another area. But that may or may not be true. But I think that overall, it's about creating relationships. And when you know the person, usually you kind of understand how they'll react in business and how they'll treat you in business. And people want to work with people that they like. And And that's what it comes down to.
I haven't done any deals on the course. But I will say the one thing I think you could learn about a person on the course is there are guys who cheat a little bit. I'm not saying they're trying to trick you, but they fluff their ball up a little bit. In other words, if you hit the ball into the rough, which is the thicker grass, they might move it a little bit, which makes a gigantic difference. Or they might move it a little bit in the fairway or clean their ball a little bit or whatever it is. And sometimes they will move it around. I found the ball behind the tree. Like there are little small things that people do that most people don't really care much about. And I believe that shows you what they're about in life too. Meaning if they're one who bends the truth a little bit, that's somebody I would never want to partner with. That's not what I'm about at all. If anything, I would make sure to hit the ball in a situation where Al might say to me, Maier, listen, that was a crazy situation. Like, you can move that. I don't want you to get injured. There's a roots there or something like that. I'm still going to hit it. Right. That's the only thing I'm going to add to this. But
the other thing
that they believe that the lie is true or that it's fair.
Because isn't there a code of conduct in golf?
If we're playing for fun, if we're just playing for fun,
exactly.
why hurt yourself?
Right.
If we're having a match.
I think when I'm playing with my son and I want him to learn the game, and there's a situation that's rare or difficult that is not going to gain, he's not going to gain anything from it. I'm going to say, listen, just move the ball a little bit. Mm-hmm. We're practicing here. We're learning.
But that's a mutual understanding.
Yeah, I'm saying
you're doing it together.
We're talking about like in a situation where you're playing for money or you're in a tournament.
The stakes are higher.
You see someone kind of go wander off and found the ball, and or the guy could be like, all right, I'm dropping the ball here, and fine, he says I'm dropping the ball here, and the funniest thing is when you finish a hole, some people will say, one person usually keeps the card with the score, and people will say, what do you want there? As if like it's a question about what you want versus what actually happened.
What happened?
Right. So what do you want there? Like, give me a 5. Well, the guy made an 8.
Oh, that's good.
So like 2 people can keep a scorecard and you'll have vastly different scores at the end of the day.
Interesting.
But it's a study in human nature. It's a study in people's self-confidence, self-worth, how they view themselves. Some people feel like they shouldn't score a certain way. They should be better than they are. And so they just can't bring themselves to put a higher score than and that to me speaks to someone that either has a warped sense of reality or at least an inability to kind of reconcile their own.
Yeah. I asked Lawrence Hadjioff, he's a rabbi, And he's very big into, when Messiah comes, Mashiach, when it comes, the end of the days, what's going to be. So I asked him, I was like, just curious, like, what's going to happen when Mashiach comes and all the Jews are going to, we're all going to congregate in Israel or whatever version, they say is going to happen. What happens to the rest of the world? What happens to the people that are not Jews? Like, where do they go? What are they? He's like, no. They're still going to be around. Somebody has to buy retail. Somebody that we still need them to be around. But it was interesting because, everybody ganders to think what's going to happen and what's going to be the end of days. Nobody really knows. It's people have different perceptions of what's going to go on. But it's actually a scary thought. Are you doing a better job raising your kids than your parents did raising you?
I wonder. So I'm the product of my parents' parenting.
First of all, I think you would say that Al's a great guy, right? And you got to give credit to the parents. I mean, whether they tried to get him to be this at this point or whatever, at some point, if a person is successful and they're a good person, then don't you have to give your parents credit?
Of course.
You can't just say that I molded everything myself.
Yeah.
Now, we may think that they should have done things differently, but they're coming at it from Al's parents and my parents come from a very similar situation. We're both the oldest in the family. But I think we both came out and are pretty successful. We're pillars of the community. We're good people. I think our kids think we're good people. Our wives think we're good people. I think overall, you got to give credit to your parents. That's what I would say.
Okay, that's a beautiful thing, and I'll accept. Now, let's talk about some of those things that maybe weren't so great. Let's talk about some of the things that maybe we could learn from and do differently with our kids. Does anything come to mind when I ask you, what did you go through and your siblings go through that you've learned from, and you make a conscious effort to do something differently with your kids?
I don't know that I do anything consciously differently. It's just that I am different than my dad and my mom. So I don't think I'm trying to do things differently with my kids. I actually think there are a lot of things I'm lacking or I'm flawed in that my dad would have done better. For example, I believe I was pushed to do things to a certain level. I didn't always get to that level. I don't push my kids enough, but it's just something that's just who I am, and I'm not great at it. I don't think that my parents did a bad job. My dad wanted me to be a certain person. I think that's fine with that. There are certain, let's say, for example, with athletes, some athletes will talk about their dad pushing them, and they were successful. I'm sure there are thousands of kids that were pushed that were never successful that we've never heard from. Right?
And are broken.
I don't think there's anything wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, a parent's job is to make their kid as great as possible. It's easy to just say, here, watch a show all day and take off and just chill. That's easy. For a parent to go and work on their kid and spend time, even if their kid doesn't like it, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's admirable. Just sometimes kids are hurt by it later on and they take offense to it.
Right. But everything has balances.
Maybe I'd be a total loser.
Yeah. Look, I agree in a certain way that our parents, the older generation, knew what they were doing to some extent. I mean, a lot of us turned out okay. And, they had their challenges. They're flawed as well. They're not perfect people. And they overall did a good job. I don't think that you could say fairly one person does a better job than the other. I think it's very hard. There's a lot
I think there
circumstances
are
that
there are people that are neglectful or abusive and
that happens in every generation.
I think a parent's job is to see where their kid is weak and help them with it, which is very tough.
Yeah.
Right. Every family you look at it, there's very few families that every kid is exactly the same. Everyone's different, and helping a kid get to be the best they can be is the job of a parent. At the end of the day, and my belief is a kid was never asked to be born. A parent had the kid, and it's the parent's job to make sure that their kid is the best they can be. Everyone's given different abilities.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I can never be the golfer Al is. Just not really possible. He's more athletic than I am when it comes to that. But I can be as good as I can be, and he can be as good as he can be. Different levels. Yeah. And that's what a parent's job is, if you ask me.
I love that. I love that comparison. Don't measure up to the next person. Just be the best version that you can be, and that's what you want your kids to strive for as well. To be the best version of themselves and be a support system for that, to get there and be a good resource for them. All right, so we're running out of time here slowly, guys.
One thing you guys didn't touch on, for sure, let's say my parents, even myself, we didn't have the ability to join all these leagues, all the sports that we have.
That's true.
Us and our kids, that our parents my parents for sure. I'm a lot older than you guys. Like they had nothing, you know. Like Little League, like was like a foreign thing. I grew up in Muncie. I'm here 42 years. I played in Muncie Little League when there was one from team, and the other 5 or 6 from kids played on another team. But like there's one full from team.
Lakewood, they're blossoming. You see what's going on in Lakewood? They have this, I think it's called LBA. Yeah. And it's become a full-blown business.
But Ushy,
they're actually like monetizing, by the way. They're making money, this league.
Why do you think any of that is good for kids?
because what is the self-confidence that you get?
I'm asking that because I want to hear your opinion.
I think
because
it's
I think it's bad. No. I as a person, I believe that for certain people, sports allows people to explore their identity, and it's a microcosm of their own life where they are mini challenges replicate life challenges, which is why I think people are so obsessed with golf. Even athletes that have played football, basketball, whatever it is, they all gravitate towards golf when they're finished with their careers. And sports in general allows people to have a microdose of intensity, of overcoming challenges, that and have a very clear, direct result that they can realize.
Well, that's a good thing.
Oh, 100%. And I think when we were...
So what don't
we were
you
growing
like?
up,
What,
I do.
I thought you said you don't like the ample amounts of leagues that are going on.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because as you were talking, I'm like, wait, so you're kind of proving my point.
No.
Like, it's amazing. So many reasons. But, Stefan, to answer your question, the reason you're right. It was not around when we were kids. I'll push my kid into every league that exists. Like, if he wants to play, I'm there. And by the way, I'm backing it up. I put the effort in. I'll leave work early if I have to drive at 6:45 at night, which was annoying to go to a basketball. But I do it. Sundays, I put the time in because I really think it's actually going to help him in a lot of ways. So it means something, and it's important. I think it's critical as he grows. Kids today, they're not playing sports, unfortunately. They're not considered like somewhat cool, and they're not going to get that confidence, and it's going to be harder for them to excel. It's going to be much harder for them.
You're speaking from someone who values sports. I have 4 kids. I have 3 boys, and I'm a big sports person. I play a lot of sports. I don't follow sports, but I play a lot of sports. And one son plays sports, one doesn't, 2 don't. And they're not so into it. And, they have groups of kids that just don't play sports and they're not into it and they're fine. As long as they develop a healthy, I would say humorous personality where I think the key is not to be angry. Like kids these days the unhealthy ones seem to be a little bit angry. If they don't have this feeling, at least maybe towards their parents or towards their life or school or whatever it is, where they're not angry.
I think they need, like adults too, they need to have love of life. Right? I mean, Ushy, you love life, right? And you get up
some days, not every day.
But you keep the party. You got a fire in you. Like you need a fire. So some people it's sports, and sports is great. But you know what? I remember playing. I still vividly remember. I was 9, 10 years old, and I was playing basketball, and we had this kid on my team who was horrible. I mean, like couldn't even dribble. And it was one of those parents that like pushed their kid to play, and we would never pass to the kid because he's was terrible, and the mother literally started berating me like for not passing to the kid. I'm like, your kid doesn't even want to play. He like literally told me, don't pass me the ball. But you're like the crazy mother. I still think about this kid. There's no way this kid's talking to the mother. Like the mother was.
It was almost like she needed it more than.
No, she heard like, oh, your kid has to play sports, otherwise they're
But like, you just gotta have a fire. You gotta have a love.
Yeah.
Hobbies. Things to
Where's
do.
the
hobby?
Where's the father?
I don't know.
That's a little bit odd, by the way.
Yeah,
For like the mother to push.
I don't know.
That is weird.
Hobbies. Like your wives have to have hobbies. You have to have hobbies. It's important to have things you're interested in.
If you have nothing that you like, how could you enjoy life?
Right. You got to have certain hobbies.
Some people, that's Torah or I don't know what else is it.
Golf.
That's I don't know what else do people like to do.
Right.
Read.
I mean, whether it's there's so many
people are
sports.
addicted to business.
There's guys who
That's
play
boring.
darts and bowling, and that's what they do every day,
Art.
4 or 5 days a week. You just have to enjoy it.
Right. Pick something, find your lane, and live in it.
And find it, and it might change. Like a lot of think golf is dumb for many years, or they'll never play golf. Like I play baseball, I play basketball, I play tennis, And then they start playing golf and they can't believe, like, we have a friend, right, who just started playing golf. The guy's an absolute addict. He used to talk to us and say, why are you guys talking about golf? Golf is so dumb, right? It's so dumb. And now...
Did he say that at one point?
Oh, absolutely. And now he's like, why didn't you guys get me into it 10 years ago? I'm like, well, we tried. Not like we're not going to coax you into it.
You're bad people, by the way, because you know that this person is now going to
it's
inevitably, and he's never going to do anything else.
No, they reach equilibrium. People reach equilibrium. If they can't have a healthy relationship with golf, it means they have an unhealthy relationship with life, and they have an inability to regulate their own emotions.
Can I tell you guys something that I think the three of us can take on as a group?
Yeah.
The three of us, as a little, like, let's take on a project upon ourselves. Because you're right, Maier. I'm a decent guy. I have a decent personality. And I'm saying a decent,
The best.
I'm using very
number
humble
one
words.
skill is.
Yeah, what is your number one skill, Ushy?
Number one skill?
Yeah. What makes, like...
guess.
A number one skill.
What makes
like
you-
in
what
life,
makes-
my number one skill? Like,
in life.
Wow, it's
Not in your
very hard question
your
to answer.
family.
I'm very uncomfortable right now.
Really?
What I would think is you make things happen.
Okay,
You
a doer. A lot of people are doers, but yeah, I'll label myself.
A doer might be told or asked to do something. You make it. You conceive of the idea, or even if someone else has the idea, and you make it happen.
I appreciate those kind of words.
is-
Thank you. But I want to go back to what I was saying. I really think that we should do something. I could really do more of this. I think I'm a terrible person because I don't do this enough. How many people sit around, not like us, that are feeling somewhat in the background, that are feeling somewhat removed, that are feeling somewhat ignored, and they would love to be more part of things? And what a difference it would make in someone's life. And it really doesn't cost us a whole lot, right? We're not spending money on this. Just a little bit more of just a little acknowledgement. I'm terrible at this.
How about the guy?
I'm sitting on my hands. I'm a snob that way, and it's really not nice. And I want to make more of an effort, and I think that the three of us should take this on. Is to be more, not just approachable.
So I
So
have
you're
be
gonna
more
start
of an
inviting,
outreach.
Colin, you're going to start inviting, like, there's like 3-4 guys that just moved into the neighborhood. You're going to start inviting them for meals.
Listen.
Whoa. Inviting them to my home.
What are you going to do?
Whoa.
You're like, say hi to them?
I don't know.
Invite them for breakfast? Anybody except...
I had this idea that when we moved into the new synagogue, we moved into a new building a few weeks ago. And when obviously we always sit together, we've been sitting together for years at Kiddush, which is where we just sit around and talk like we're doing now. That every seat has a seat number. Let's say we have 100 people there. You pull a number out of the hat and you have to sit in that seat.
What a good.
We have this thing, and everyone's like, yeah, great idea.
Default. But the issue is, it might be a great idea. You know why? Maybe the three of us could talk to any which guy, but there are a lot of people who don't. Like, this is my 1 hour that I get to chill and hang with my boys.
That also, by the way, I'm back on the other side.
Now, you don't do it every
What a good argument.
You don't do it every
Kamala,
once-
Trump.
I don't know what. By the way, both really good points.
You could do it every fourth week. You could do it any.
But
It's every Rosh
and now
Chodesh.
that's a good compromise.
That's what we came up with. He said every Shabbos Mevarchim should be the one where everybody changes their seat.
But it's a lot of work, by the way. You have to prep this because you have to know who's coming that Shabbos. Make sure everybody's names is in a hat. You can't leave people
No,
out.
pick a number. Go on and pick a number.
Oh, you
That's
pick
what
a
said.
number
That's
and then
it.
the
You
choose
pick
a
number, you
number.
said.
Interesting idea. By the way, let's petition for this.
I'll leave it up to you.
I'm going to petition
You're
for
the
this.
doer.
First of all, I have to clear this with our venerable leader and our fearless leader, the rabbi, making sure that he's
Can't see why he would have an issue with it.
okay. We can't see it right now, but I'm going to bring it up. I'm a fan of this because, first of all, I'm all about this podcast. Just so you know, Michael always preaches this, and he mentions this a few times an episode. It's all about growing personally, becoming a little bit better than we were yesterday, and professionally as well, right? And the two really have a lot of. There's a lot of synergy between growing professionally and personally. I don't think you can be good in business if you're not a happy person, right? And
What's the point of being good in business if you're not a happy person?
nothing. Who can you celebrate?
Who cares? Would you rather be unhappy and rich or poor and happy?
Well, that's not a fair question. Obviously,
Why?
everybody, because if you're happy, by definition, things are working. So it doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're, happy is the key.
Happy is wealth.
Happy is wealth, right? In a way, it's almost like
and money has nothing to do with anything.
a form of how you can reach happiness.
I disagree with
One variable.
It's
One
easier.
variable.
It's easier.
It's easier.
But I think happy people that are rich are happy.
The problem also is a lot of people are rich, don't think they're rich. Like
They're not rich enough. They want more.
Which is the craziest thing,
Yeah.
which is absurd. Like,
Yeah.
why do people need to go make more and more and more? Now, listen, maybe you have a fear that you're going to lose it or whatever it is. But
that's
there
fair.
are stories
That's
out there of
anxiety.
people who die and they have millions of dollars and their kids didn't even know they had any money. Like
Right.
they lived like a pauper.
True. No, it's a good point. Listen, at the end of the day, I think that we should just make somewhat of an effort, to make a little bit more outreach. That's the bottom line.
When was the last time you spoke to someone like you had no idea who they were and like you learned about their life?
By me approaching them.
No, or just in general.
When's the last time I made a new friend?
The new person you met, you learned.
Like this guy that you just talked about, you said there's a guy in our community, you thought he was like one of the...
I didn't say pillars. I
Okay,
said,
you thought, I don't know who it is, right?
Yeah.
And you thought he was a big piece of the community, a lot of friends, and you were surprised to find out he felt like he's an outsider. Was that shocking?
yeah. Yeah.
He told you this in confidence?
No.
How did that come about?
Through a conversation, like on the side. Like it wasn't the reason why we spoke. We were talking and then kind of threw it in there and then
Who do you
caught
think
me.
is, I'm not going to say who, like as a specific name, but who in the community, what type of person is the center of the spider web that branches out and touches everybody?
Rabbi. 100%. I think we're very fortunate that we have a rabbi like this, but you guys don't even know. None of us know the extent. I mean, some know more than others about a few more stories here and there, but what he does, the amount of good that he does all over the place, it's unbelievable. But guys, we really are running out of time. We can't go on forever.
Here, I just want to be back.
Michael, this is for you. This is a shout out to Michael.
This is awesome.
Michael brings out the best in me, also the worst in me sometimes.
We do it with Michael next
That's what I'm
time?
saying. So I feel like we really missed a big chunk of the. I'm realizing now that I'm not doing it without him. Like I said, sometimes you don't see what's in front of you until you don't have it. You don't realize how badly you actually. Michael really is a major asset. Like he has a way of keeping the conversation going in a very fun way. And I'm a big fan of Michael's. He does a lot of things very, very well. It's one of the things he does well. He's been sorely missed on this episode. But
What doesn't he do well?
what doesn't he do well? I'm going to tell. He knows. By the way, Michael brought up this idea a long time ago. I think partners should be scoring each other and should be doing reviews with each other every so often about what do you feel that they're doing well, what are they not doing well. Okay, but this last story, and then we got to wrap up.
Well, he's such a...
Let me wrap it, and then let's continue.
Then we're off the podcast?
Yeah, off the podcast. Yeah, we'll just...
Oh,
by the way, he's hooked now. He needs a mic in front of him.
Oh,
now.
there's going to be... Tomorrow morning, we're going to be doing a podcast from the golf course tomorrow. We're recording a podcast. Like, Maier, we're back at the golf course after your hiatus of 1 week. How does it feel?
Tell us about that.
Your muscles have atrophied. You have completely shriveled. Can you even hold a club?
Atrophied?
You know what that means?
No, what a great word.
Atrophied?
Atrophied?
Yeah. Google.
Okay, that's too much.
Whoa.
Okay.
IED.
What does atrophied mean?
It basically means to like shrivel up and like...
Like
Have you ever used that word before?
Yeah.
Or did it just like come to your head right now?
Have I ever used it? No, but of course, it's in my...
Wow, what a word. What a great word.
Atrophied?
I just like the way it sounds.
Can you use for the title of your...
I never figured out how to incorporate that now into certain sentences that I use a lot. I have to figure it out.
Yeah.
But great word. So listen, guys, this has been amazing. You guys have been excellent guests. Before we finish, we like to do something, which is we ask our guests to recommend somebody else to be on the podcast, somebody you think might be a good candidate, somebody that's interesting, somebody that has what to offer, that could contribute towards our growth. Who would you recommend and we'd like for you to make that call now, on air, make that call and ask the person if they would be interested in joining our podcast. Anybody that comes to mind, anybody you can think of? Who's coming to mind, Al? Maier.
We should both write it. We should both write a name down, and we should see if the names is.
It's going to end up being the same name.
It's going to end up being the same. I can already tell you both know who.
Hold on.
He knows who I will pick, and I know who he'll pick. So we
but
can go.
if you do this person, we have to be here.
Yeah.
I want to be part of it.
We need
it'll
to-
be great.
Can we
I
co-host?
believe. I think we should co-host. I think it'll be great. This person is fantastic. Be unbelievable.
Who is this person?
Podcast. And they are
Are they local?
they live within 20 minutes.
He's around here. He's within 10 minutes of here many times a day, many times a week.
No. And he's a business. I mean, like in terms of
He will
business,
be
he is-
the guest of your time.
What's he doing tomorrow?
Who are you talking?
Also, you want to do with Michael? Huh?
Who are you talking about?
You say it, and I'll tell you if it's the right guy. I'm not.
Well, no. I mean,
Is this guy?
who are you?
Oh, I was talking about somebody else.
We have two guys. We have two
Wow.
potentials
I know
now.
who you're.
I thought he would be spectacular.
Yeah, he'll be great. Yeah,
Who are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about Leonard Schleifer. He started his own business.
Mhm.
It's a publicly traded company.
Mhm.
It's healthcare. Called
Really?
Regeneron, and he's a spectacular guy. He's we play golf with him, and he's. I think we do it. I absolutely think we do it. I'll ask.
Let's go.
Al, that's your guy.
And the problem is now that I didn't say Al's guy. When Al's guy sees this podcast, I'm going to be in the doghouse.
Well, no. Listen, you went billionaire, so that's fine.
It's not about money. He's uber successful, but he created many
He's a
drugs.
neurologist. He invented monoclonal.
Yeah.
I'm saying, you remember when COVID happened? I'm saying he's.
We'll show him this podcast.
Come on.
I think he would do it.
You think so?
Why not?
Let me ask you guys. It is very well documented and very well known that golf is very expensive. Not a cheap sport. Not everybody can afford to have a life that revolves around golf. So I know that it costs a lot of money to be a part of clubs and pay memberships. What would you say is the most money you spent in any particular year?
I've always, I was lucky enough to be part of a club very early in my life because I managed to make some connections and find a place. When you're young, they let you join for a very, very reasonable rate because they want young members in hopes that they'll continue, to patronize the club and be there.
The course of your career, your life, how much do you think you spent? Over everything. Don't break it down by year. Just like, to this point, how? So like,
I have not been a member for that long.
Right.
I've even been
$500,000 you spent?
No.
Over the lifetime of your playing career?
That's crazy.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
For the first 10 years of my life, it was $2,000 a year, $3,000 a year.
Okay, I'm going to move on from this topic because I can tell you're uncomfortable with it, and that's fine. Rightfully so, by the way.
I don't know.
It is a little bit to spend this kind of money on anything. On anything, not just golf. On anything, it's a little bit excessive. But let me ask you.
I think people spend a lot of money on food or whatever, and I think that's absurd. Like, why would you go out to eat and spend $1,000 at a nice restaurant 2 times a week? I just don't understand it.
People don't go twice a week to a fancy restaurant.
A lot they like claim
it's a different thing. You have a meeting. Business expenses covered.
Everything on the menu.
That's not the same. You guys are clearly addicted to golf. You have an addiction. Let me ask you this.
What is an addiction?
That you like doing it excessively and you have withdrawals when you don't do it. Like if you're not playing golf, you're in a bad place. You get like somber and you have...
What do you?
Well, he's going to get back into it.
Maybe yes, maybe no. What do you mean? I told the club that he quit.
I'm sure
you know that. They put his membership on hold.
I'll bet with you.
Membership on hold.
Let's do over under how long he gets back into it.
Non grata.
Let's do over under.
His face is actually, when you walk in, there's like a guard booth that's unattended. And there's a picture of his face.
The truth is, let me just tell you, I do have to go back to the club because I don't know if you heard, but I had a hole-in-one this year.
I don't know if you heard, but I had a hole-in-one this year. Is that like something?
One is tremendously luck, and Al is a much better player than I am, and he has not had one in, 14 years?
12 years.
In 12 years, you never had one hole-in-one.
It's been 12 years.
Let me just tell you about my hole-in-one, though. I was with Al, and we had a caddy. The caddy is the guy who carries our bags. He's a good friend of ours now. We get up to the hole. The tee.
Tommy Fitzmaurice.
And there are pretty much 4 opportunities around that you can have a hole-in-one. It's called a par 3. It's a shot that's a one shot into the green. And before I hit the ball, I don't know why, I don't think I've ever done this before, but I made a declaration, an announcement, and I said, it's been 9 years I've been playing golf. I've never had a hole-in-one. I've never seen a hole-in-one. I've never been in a group with one.
And you said, here it is. It's happening now. You're like Babe Ruth. You called it out. I'm hitting a home run.
Everyone says that was a joke. It was a scam. He didn't really do that. He was pointing. No one really knows. I made a whole speech. It was a little rainy, a little wet. I actually asked the caddy for a towel to dry my right hand. For whatever reason, I stood over the ball 185 yards. It's 545 feet away from the pin, and I felt like it was going, and I hit it, and I went in.
The happiest day of your life.
No, it wasn't the happiest.
Come on.
It's a weird feeling because
But it's not all luck. It had some skill involved that you were able to hit it around the hole.
I think what you tapped into this, the happiest day of your life. I think the happiest day of your life is not like the day you accomplish something. When you look back on it, the happiest day of your life are the days you put in the effort to get to that point.
Well, the happiest moment, I don't disagree with Al, but I think the happiest moments of your life are something sudden and unexpected. Like, I don't.
You think so?
Yeah, I don't feel
I
like
disagree.
when people say the happiest day of my life was when I had a kid, and I have 4 beautiful kids. I love my kids. I love them. But the day they were born, I knew for many months we were having a kid. It wasn't unexpected. It wasn't like something. Now, somebody who maybe had trouble having kids for many years and finally has a kid, I could totally understand why it's something really special. But if you have a kid at a young age and then you have other kids that follow, I don't think that the day they were born is something so special. It's moments in their life that are more special. Their first time they take a step or they say daddy or something is way more special. It comes out of nowhere, right? It just happens. So a hole-in-one, it just happened. Like, and not only that, but for whatever reason, you have a conversation throughout time and people are like, how many hole-in-ones do you have? I'm like, 0. How many hole-in-ones do you have? 0. It happens all the time.
I've never seen one. I've never had one. I'll never have one. I'll never see one.
Average is about 4 hole-in-ones a year. Now, and there are different sets of tees, how far away you are. How many of those do you think did someone actually say in advance and make an announcement, I think I'm going to have a hole-in-one here? It was a special moment.
I do it every time now.
It was a cool moment. It was with Al.
Now, a little bit mean, and I apologize in advance to both of you. But I'm actually a little bit mortified right now. And I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
You ever heard someone say, like, they put like a lot of salt on their food, and you ask them, like, are you having some lasagna with your salt?
Right.
You know, like, you ever heard people make that joke?
Talk to me.
I feel like you guys have a lot of golf with your life. I feel like almost like every time you guys make a metaphor or you make a certain comparison, you revert back to something in golf and you make that connection.
Non-golfers don't get it.
And by the way, I'm like a little turned off because like I can appreciate somebody
I get it.
who loves something and is very passionate about it. But it gets to a certain point.
It's a problem.
This is already too much. It's getting into unhealthy space. And let's not kid ourselves. I guarantee that there's a little bit of neglect going on somewhere in your life, people in your life, because of your golf habit. And everybody appreciates somebody that cares about something, that's fine, but not too much. They always say too much of a good thing is not a good thing, right? Gotta have that balance, that fine line. Do you not agree?
I do have the winter.
A disease, maybe I could almost go as far as to say, and maybe we need to have you guys sit in therapy to figure out what is this drive that you have to just obsessively be focused in golf.
You know, I think golf is unique in that it's the ability to basically live a life in 4 hours and have it have a beginning and an end. And that's why it's so addictive. You're literally born on the first tee and you die on the last green. And you have the opportunity to literally be born and die in 4 hours. And that's why I think people love it. It gives you the opportunity to really live a complete life in 4 hours and see what happens.
You're literally proving my point, Al.
No,
you're proving my point right now.
Only golfers
Again, you're comparing the essence of living life to a golf game in 4 hours where you're born and then you...
It's crazy because there's... what in life is there finality? What do you do where you are judged from a beginning and an end? What have you done lately that there is an end, a conclusive end to what you have done? What was the last time you did something that started and ended
My work
in a
day
day?
Starts every day and finishes.
Yeah, but you made a mistake in work, you fix it the next day. No, no. What do you mean?
Any sport, you have that opportunity to perform, and if you don't, you can't.
There's other people involved in every
sport. So you'll have a better round tomorrow. Tomorrow's a new day.
That's
you have a better round.
It's a new life.
Cares?
It's a new life.
No. I need to do an intervention with you guys.
Well, wait, hold on.
Enough is enough.
Maybe.
I have to be the one to say it, guys. At a certain point, you really have to have a hard reflection over here and ask yourself that, is this maybe a little bit too much? Have I gotten carried away? Have I taken this a little bit too far? You got to be a little bit open with that.
Hold on, is this quantity based or is this just total? We're just totally consumed by
both.
What if there's a
guy and all the time?
What if there's a guy who plays once a month, but all he thinks about, he daydreams all day long about golf. He just doesn't have the money to play, can't get out. I don't know, whatever it is.
No, it's in the middle of winter.
Dreams about. There are many people who daydream about a lot of different things and think about it all the time. What if it doesn't consume my thoughts other than when I play, right? And I play. But some people think about things all the time. That's all they think about. Maybe it's money, right? Maybe it's losing weight. Whatever it is, it consumes them. It consumes them.
And that's also bad.
I don't think
that's bad.
I no longer think about golf when I'm not playing. Like,
I'd like to call you out on that.
Okay.
Because I hang out with you a good amount. Whenever we hang out, the conversation steers to the direction
because other people steer it
of golf.
Other people steer
all the time.
They assume that's what we want to talk about.
I wasn't sure actually if we would actually talk about golf today. We didn't see the questions, and I was fascinated because we sit and talk at Kiddish, and you have this rule: no golf talk. And I was
which we only stick to for about 5 minutes.
I was intrigued. Like Ushy is going to run this conversation. He's the boss.
Okay, so
you're hosting.
So let me play balls for a second.
All right, go.
Let me play balls for a second.
I would have bet that we were not going to talk about golf.
No, that's wrong. You never lose a bet.
I did want to focus a little bit on something that is actually pretty spectacular because, both of you, Al, you mostly, you are a one-of-a-kind talent. You're probably the best Jewish golfer that's alive. And that's a big deal.
That's
sure, that's what I meant. That's Orthodox golfer that's alive. And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about that and bring it up and share that experience with the listeners. Of course, I would talk about it. But you're right. I myself now am getting sucked into your world of just talking about golf, but I'd like to deviate from that a little bit.
Yeah, deviate.
And I want to ask you, so aside from golf, I want to hear, think about it first. You don't have to answer me right away because it's a little bit of a personal question.
Yeah.
What else are you addicted to?
Addicted?
Yeah. What else do you feel like you have an addiction to?
I think the sign of really a good podcast is the listener having the debate themselves with what you're talking about.
Exactly.
What they
That's
should
always
have
the
said,
goal.
or I disagree with this or disagree with that.
That's engagement.
Ushy was an idiot because he didn't understand.
Right.
He doesn't hold his wife's hand. He doesn't understand that it's circumstantial and that. Of course, what an idiot.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there screaming at them. I'm like, hey, they did a good job.
Yeah.
They did a good
No,
job.
that's the purpose of it. It's to get people's minds flowing.
Everybody's sitting there. They don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't understand what
let's try to go 5 minutes without the word
what am I
golf.
addicted to?
Without the word golf.
I
What are you addicted to? I don't know. I eat too much.
I don't want to necessarily say addicted, but I'm addicted to my phone. And I hate it. I hate that I'm addicted to my phone in the sense that I'm checking emails, checking texts, checking WhatsApp, checking YouTube, Instagram, whatever it is. I definitely feel that there's a dopamine related release when I'm looking and checking. I don't have it like Shabbos or Yom Tov for 3 days. It's off. I don't miss it. But then when it's available, and I think that's what the studies have shown, that when the phone, you have phantom buzz in your pocket, I'm definitely addicted to my phone, and I hate it. And I hope there's a day where I don't have to deal with my phone.
Are you doing anything about it?
I'm thinking about doing something about it. I'm not doing anything about it because it's so difficult. It has the power of heroin, and at the same time, we all need it because we have to read our emails.
Well, let's be realistic. We're all addicted to our phones. You're not alone.
I don't think I am.
No?
So the only social media that I use is Twitter, and I do it for sports and news. And for a month, I decided I just deleted the app off my phone. I don't post or anything like that.
Well, on WhatsApp, I will post some golf-related content. I've been told is excellent.
Does your wife or your kids make you crazy that you're on your phone all the time and it's too much? Do they?
My kids will say, Dad, you're always working. You're always answering emails.
We actually have
I
a
will
chat
say that.
with this guy who Al thinks should be on your podcast, the three of us. And it's very busy.
When Maier quit golf, I actually muted the chat for 8 hours because it started going in directions.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I need a break.
He knows I never quit. I always threaten to quit. It doesn't really make it. I think he was more concerned about it this time.
Honestly, this last time, Maier quit to the point where I actually believed he should.
You're going to go 5 minutes.
Literally, he can't quit 5 minutes.
He
It's
should
amazing.
quit. I think he should quit.
You guys have a problem.
He should quit.
We really need
I
an
think he should
intervention
quit.
over here.
Sorry.
But I feel like there's something maybe in your lives that you're running away from.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, it's the only explanation.
No.
It's the only logical explanation is that you're filling a certain void, and this gives you your fix. I feel like you need this golf. You need it in your life. Without it, you're lost. You're alone. You're abandoned. What? I don't know many people that are attached to something to this extent, to this level. I'm blown away by how committed and devoted you are to this. That I don't think you realize.
That's why
how far it goes.
That's why I think Maier should quit. That's why I think you should quit.
I think that perhaps you should try to stay off a little bit longer. Maybe because you're going to end up like Al one day. Al became like this golf goblin. He's like, give me more golf. Give me more golf.
Not at all.
It's intense.
Well, here's the thing.
The golfer.
Al is spectacular.
Yes, that's true. We agree.
No, but
obviously they're better than him. But
I don't take it serious. Not that I take it seriously, but I'm not an angry golfer.
All right, so let me pose it to you this way.
I don't get frustrated.
So you can see it now, another bird's eye view here.
Yeah.
If I were to tell you that in about 3 years, your son is going to go down the same path that you went down. He might actually discover this a little earlier than you did. And he's going to become exactly like you, play as much as you do, talk about it as much as you do, build around his life around golf, building vacations around golf. Your son is going to do the same exact thing. I think
I'd be very happy.
You'd be happy?
Yeah.
You'd be happy for your son?
Did it the way I'm doing it.
Exactly the way you're doing it.
Very happy.
Play as much as you're playing,
Very
often
happy.
as you are.
If you could do it,
well,
I'd be very happy. If his wife is anti-golf. God forbid.
that's the dynamic that you can't answer.
I mean, is the wife...
Now, if he's a golfer before he gets married...
That's why my wife was into me. Because what would happen was she would text me and I'd put my phone in my golf bag and I wouldn't see it for 4 hours. Like, who is this guy? He doesn't answer me for 4 hours.
So it served you.
Oh, it was great.
It served you.
It was great. And they'd be like, oh, sorry.
Little did she know.
Little did she. Yeah, exactly.
And with my wife, I didn't start playing until after I was married. One day she started seeing boxes of these weird sized boxes, long and narrow, and it's clubs. And like you're getting another, like, there's 14 clubs that we play with. And she's like, 14 clubs. Like, most people think, what do you need more than like
2 or 3
one
clubs.
racket, one pickleball racket.
You usually use one, but in golf you have 14 clubs in your bag, and they're different sizes and stuff.
Al, do you think your wife would prefer secretly that you weren't this into golf?
Did I ask?
No, don't do
Let
that.
me
Don't
text her.
Don't put us by. We know the answer, Al.
Would you be happy?
Zero guilt. He has zero guilt, this guy.
Hold on.
You literally
Zero guilt.
You're doing your wife a
You know what's
favor.
interesting?
Quit
I actually don't think my kid should golf. And my wife's actually tried to get me to get my kids lessons, and I don't think it's that healthy. And I think that the big dynamic is the wife.
Wow. If she says yes, this could be.
And my
game-changing.
wife thinks I should.
I said, would you be happy if I quit golf for life?
Tell me that you never asked her that question before.
She'd be happy?
Well, she
No,
can't-
of course not.
She knows he'd be.
She's asked me if I love her more than golf.
She's asked you that question.
Yeah.
What's your answer?
Situation.
Depends on the day.
That's the thing.
It depends on how things.
You know what? Right now,
Yeah.
right now, it's golf.
Oh my god! By the way, it's a real contention.
No, what do you mean?
It's a-
good. She feels when I say it's her over golf.
Because she knows how
And
much
she
you
goes,
love golf.
"You probably played bad, didn't you?" Yes, I did.
Oh my goodness! By the way, this is phenomenal, and a part of me envies you that you have something so near and dear to your heart that you can
Yeah,
pursue
yeah.
and that you can do. A part of me envies you, but a
Can I
part of me, I'll be
Yeah.
honest, feels bad for you. A part of me does, but I feel like you're missing out in a lot of other things in life. You're
Like
missing.
what? Tell me
out.
what I'm missing on. Tell me what I'm missing.
What are you missing?
I don't think he's missing anything. Actually, let me just say vacations or whatever. Like there was a couple guys talking about a vacation. Like I messaged out even while I'm retired this week. Like I'm not going on a vacation that's not centered around golf. A golf vacation is the purest vacation of all. Like there's the biggest reason I would never retire from golf is because I can't miss those vacations. That is just like this. It's special. The lead up to it. Like we
Listen,
actually
come along. You make sandwiches.
We joke around. Like we want to make sure that we have another trip booked when we take our trip. And obviously mostly in the winter.
How many times do you lie to your wife or
Never.
to your workmates or people that you have to
My wife
someone
can track-
account?
my wife
How
can
often
track-
do you lie so you can continue to play?
My wife can.
No.
You don't lie?
I
No.
want.
Oh, that's the line you don't cross?
What do you mean? What line do I cross?
Let's say your wife says, Al, I really need you today.
Then I won't go.
And you said, but you really want to golf that day.
No,
And then
no.
you say, no, I have a work function today. I have to be at work. I can't. I'm sorry.
No.
You don't do that?
No.
So don't lie ever?
Not only that, but
No.
you.
I'll say I'm golfing. It hasn't happened for probably 8 years.
Years ago, before I
10
started
years.
my business, my wife would call me like, "Hey, did you leave the office yet?" I'm like, why don't you just track me on Find My iPhone? So for the last 8
Oh,
years,
this
or
is
so,
weird.
She sees where I'm at, and she knows if I left. She actually will wait now to call me about work issues till after I leave. And once she sees I've left, she'll call and tell me what things have occurred throughout the day.
I didn't hear anything anymore after I heard you just say, we work together.
Yeah.
Me and my wife, we work together. Like that struck a
Yeah, hold
chord
on.
with me. I literally did not hear anything.
And my
after
wife,
that.
I asked my wife, would you be happy if I quit golf for life? She goes, no, of course not. You'd be miserable.
No,
I just said,
but see,
like,
that's she cares about you.
Right.
She would be happier for it, but she wouldn't.
Say if I could be happy
Yeah,
while
obviously
quitting
she would want you to quit. She would want you to quit, but that's a very good wife you have.
Hold on.
Very
What?
nice.
What? But you know what? I gotta say that.
she has other hobbies too.
No. But she's evolved. Where like before, like when we were first married, and she didn't fully get the golf thing, and she was pregnant, and she had to be like with our first kid. We were very young. I was 21. She was 19 or 20, whatever it was. She was on bed rest when she was pregnant, and I was like, I wasn't really working. I was in school. I was in between. I'd be like, all right, I finished the classes. I'm gonna go play golf. She was like, wait a second, I'm just sitting here on bed rest, hang out. I'm like, well, I don't want to just sit inside. And so she wasn't so thrilled with it. But as we matured, we worked on our relationship and we worked on our desire for each of us to be happy with the other person doing what they want to do in their hobbies and whatever it was. Now she's thrilled for me to play.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You're very lucky. This has been amazing. This has been great.
Thank you,
Thanks for doing this.
I'm glad
Really
that
appreciate it.
It's going to get condensed into an hour and 5
We're
minutes.
going to try our best. All right, guys, that's a wrap.